home straight of the first ever Save Our Biodiversity Telethon, brought to you by the Nature Conservation Council of New South Wales. I'm Chris Gambian. Thank you to everybody who's been involved over the last few days and who's donated money and supported our work. I mean, thank you year round, really, because your donations is what makes this organisation possible, and the work, of course, that we do to protect nature, to fight for climate action, to look after our rivers and wetlands, all possible because of the contribution and support that people like you have made to us. Our final guest, I want to introduce you to somebody who actually requires basically no introduction, Professor Don White, who's the chair of the Nature Conservation Council. Don, welcome. Thank you for joining us at the telethon. How long have you been the chair of NCC now?
Oh, too long, you know that. But since 2005, so whatever that is.
So a huge contribution over many years.
16, 17 years now.
But what people may not know is your journey to get to this point. How did you first get involved with the Nature Conservation Council?
Oh, look, I was an engineer for 30 years. I had 30 years making plastic. And then I've had the last 25 years basically doing things to clean it up again. So that's a sort of shorthand way of saying it. But really, 25 years ago when I retired, I had more time available. And I came in through the forest network, the destruction of trees that was happening, the rejigging of the regional forest agreements that were happening at that time, and have just gone from there. We've got a place in the country too, so we're involved with bushfire. We've had bushfire all around us, so we get involved in those things. We've travelled around the state. We've seen the amount of concrete that's been thrown into the Murray-Darling River and felt concerned about the effects on that. So we've had a fairly general exposure to a lot of these topics.
Yeah. Now, the board or the executive of NCC is elected by the members, and we don't have individual members here at the Nature Conservation Council. All of our members are organisations, whether you're a large statewide, national even body, or a very local, small community action group or something like that. Can you just explain for folks how the membership structure of NCC works and the ways that members work with us?
Well, as you said, Chris, we've got about 160 signed up.
184.
184 now,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have been reading my papers better. But there's a huge number of groups. They themselves comprise individuals. So in NCC, we've got a lot of working groups that deal with topics. Planning, water, bushfire, and many other topics. And those individuals can contribute in those working groups to those topic subjects. We're just at the moment putting together the election asks, as you know, and those groups are contributing hugely to that to bring a series of election asks from all the groups that are represented by NCC together into one fulsome document. We did that 3 years ago, and the staff and people generally are engaged in wordsmithing and doing that again at the moment. So that's how the member groups, we have an annual conference annually, which brings all the groups together to formulate policy, and we have a regional conference every 6 months where we get out in the regions and hear their concerns. Most recently, we were up at Armidale hearing about many of the issues up there which are changing quite rapidly with renewable energy coming along.
Now, there might be people watching who haven't been involved with the Nature Conservation Council for years, or might just be considering getting more involved. What would you say to people who want to get more active, take a role, whether it's with a working group or a member organisation, or run for the board or something like that?
Well, there's two questions there. One is getting involved in the activities, the subject matters, through a working group, if that's and you'll need to contact the coordinators of those groups. To get involved on the board, you need to be put up by a member group. There's a governance requirement, and you've got to have a member group behind you. So generally, you'll get involved by getting involved through a member group that is itself a member of NCC and being supported for a position on the executive. The annual conference happens October, November. I think 5th of November is being talked about this year. And so that's the route onto the exec. But more generally, it's just participating in the activities. But we also have a lot of members on committees, state government committees around the state, And so you can get involved through that mechanism by being a representative, putting NCC views up in water committees or bushfire committees or committees of the National Parks and Environment Service that have regional advisory committees, those sort of committees. We've got a whole heap of reps that represent us out there in the field.
Yeah, do all sorts of interesting work that actually does make quite a tangible difference to the practical outcomes for nature, climate. It's not the big, lofty political narrative or the big public discussion, but really practical stuff that matters in a particular national park or a particular policy area. It makes a big difference. Now, we've been doing this telethon now for 3 days. This is day 3.
Yeah.
We've got just a few hours left until midnight, where it's the end of the financial year and the end of our match giving promotion at the moment. Some final words and thoughts to people who might be considering chucking us a donation.
Well, thanks to all of you that have contributed. We can't do anything unless there's something to grease the wheels to make it all happen. So we're really grateful for everybody who has donated. In this particular event, we're looking for your dollars, but we're also looking for your time and contribution. I've spent today working through the election platform with many volunteers that put their time into things. So whatever way you can contribute, be appropriate. But this is the telethon, trying to raise money. So if you've got some more dollars that you want to throw in the bucket, please do so. It all helps.